Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Protocol Pegasus here, bringing back to you guys in Remnant from the Ashes, and today we'll be taking a look at my all-new build known as the Corrupted Slayer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so my character sheet is going to be as followed. For the handgun, I'm using the submachine gun attached onto his weapon mod known as Swarm. From there, I'm using my long gun known as the Spore Bloom. I'm using the weapon mod attached onto it is the Spore Shot, is a non-removable mod. From there, I'm using the melee weapon known as Scrap Hatchet. Then I'm using one piece in Corrupted Hood. The second piece is going to be my chest, which is going to be the Slayer Mantle. Then the third piece is going to be my pants, which is the Cultist Breeches. For the necklace, I'm using Twisted Idol. For my first ring, I'm using Blood Font. For my second ring, I'm using Spirit Stone. So with all that being said, let's jump over into traits. The three primary traits that I would highly recommend for this particular build are going to be as followed. The first one is going to be Treg, which increases your healing efficiency by 100%. I do apologize if I am pronouncing that wrong, but I'm sure you'll correct me in the comments. Moving on. Second one I'd highly recommend is Concentration. Mod duration increased by 20%. And then the third one is going to be Spirit, which is mod power generation increased by 25%. Now, with all that being said, at the end of the day, I highly recommend going for every trait within the course of the game because there is no primary cap limit. So with that being said, you can capitalize on every trait within the entire game to be able to minimax your build and just be that much more efficient. Now, with all that in mind, let's go ahead and jump over into some gameplay. Alright, so I'm playing on a Apocalypse mode on Earth. From there, we are running in the Sunken Passage here. And one of the things I do want to discuss with this particular setup that I happen to be running is why I ended up choosing the items that I did. Starting with the submachine gun. So the reason I ended up picking the submachine gun is because I'm very comfortable with the said submachine gun. It's really good for close range based combat. It's also really good for mid range as well. I feel it has the nice balance in regards to burst fire potential, but really nice control output as well, which just makes it a really nice well-rounded weapon. And tying it with the weapon mod known as Swarm to give it that extra kick is a really nice synergy in my opinion between the two weapons in themselves. I also like the fact of having Swarm because Swarm not only does really nice single target damage output, but it also does AoE damage output. And it has an auto tracking feature, so we'll just continuously latch onto certain targets until that target is either dead or the mod ends up fading out. So I ended up going for Swarm just to have that little extra damage output that I can go about mustering up with this particular build. Now, the primary weapon I am utilizing is known as Spore Bloom. Now, Spore Bloom I've never really seen used. I will admit I thought it was one of those weapons that was kind of trash at first. I didn't really think anything of it. But what I really like about Spore Bloom is that it has so much potential. So not only does the gun itself has a high damage output and a pretty fast reload animation, but the overall mod that's attached onto it is really strong. Not in the sense that it will like burst and obliterate every single target you end up touching with it, but just the ability to control your environment so substantially is such a nice core aspect to this particular build in itself. So like, what do I mean by that is you'll see here in this example when I end up utilizing the Spore Bloom, I end up actually throwing out the mod on the doorway. Now if you're paying attention, I swap over to my submachine gun to be able to build up the charge here on my Swarm. While all the enemies come and rush me, they stop moving as if time had stand still. As they go about trying to get to me, they're slowly dying because they're taking damage from the mod itself, while giving me enough time to be able to generate my overall weapon mod damage output, to regenerate my mods, to regen my health, so on and so forth. It's just a really good mod to just slow everything down and get a good grasp of the situation and how you want to approach it at the end of the day, as well as just being able to reposition yourself or just set yourself up in general. And I think it's super underrated. So if you guys haven't given this weapon a shot, by all means go ahead and bust it out, because let me tell you something, in apocalypse mode it is super underrated, and I was really happy with the results. Now, the melee weapon I ended up going for was a scrap hatchet. Now, the reason I ended up going for the scrap hatchet, I'll be honest with you, I think it looks the best. I was going with a particular theme of that kind of like old running gun type of style, where it was kind of like a Midwestern cowboy kind of meets like a futuristic post-apocalyptic world. And I think the hatchet works really well for that, and that's really the only reason I picked that. From there, my armor set pieces is a little weird, but hear me out. Basically, I went one corrupted set, which is the helmet. The reason I did this is because I wanted the passive health regeneration. Then I went one Slayer set. I went one Slayer set because I wanted the extra damage output from the actual perk it gives me. Then from there, I went one piece Cultist, which was the pants, because I wanted the passive mod regeneration. And all in all, I think they look fantastic together, by the way, but they do synergize really well together, especially when you tie in the corrupted hood with the blood font ring. Because what happens is that the health regeneration ends up stacking, and because the blood font ring is in effect, it actually amplifies the overall health that you end up receiving, which in turn just amplifies your overall health regeneration, as well as anything that applies health regeneration to you, like your blood ward, for example. Which is really strong. From there, I also utilized the necklace known as the Twisted Idol to be able to not only make it so that way I'm not as encumbered, but I really did it for more of the armor value, so I can take more hits in apocalypse mode, because honestly, no one likes to die within one hit, especially if you're playing a build that's not as like burst heavy as what mine happens to be. But from there, I highly recommend utilizing Twisted Idol, just because of the fact that it really makes any builds that much better from doing a lightweight armor, and it also allows you to go about just being able to take more hits, which is just really nice. I think it's almost a must in a lot of builds when it comes to apocalypse mode these days. From there, I'm using Spirit Stone just because it's a really good ring. Spirit Stone amplifies the overall weapon mod damage output, but I did it really for the overall weapon mod, what's the word I'm looking for? The overall increase on the actual mod power. From there, I can just generate them a lot faster, and just being able to continuously keep my mod power up with the Spirit Stone as well as the One Piece Cultist, so that way I never really run out of mod potential, which is really nice. And it's definitely something you want to take note of, because if your swarm is down, your damage output is pretty insignificant, so you want to make sure that you're consistently rotating your mods out and you're consistently trying to keep them up the best you can. But all in all, I think the build is absolutely fantastic. I love the synergy between it. I love the theme. It was a hell of a lot of fun, and I think, to be honest with you, you'll be really surprised with the results. So give it a try. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. And from there, if you have any other build ideas or recommendations or anything you guys want to see, feel free to post them down below. It takes me a little bit longer to go about creating some of these builds, so I'd love to hear your feedback in regards to what you guys think is the best and what you guys want to see and do and this, that, and the other thing. Or if you want to know what works, I'll let you know. But yeah, that's pretty much going to be it, guys. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, leave them right down below. And if you haven't already, I hope you guys have a real good day, and I hope to see you real soon. Later.